you want to put as VIPs, and you have to start to determine what your criteria is. So I do have a PowerPoint. I don't know if we're going to go slide for slide. Um, I'm probably, for sake of the point, what would you want me to do, Chad? Just share my screen when I want to talk about a certain slide? Oh, you're muted.
Why don't I run it and I just kind of want this to be an interview and people to chime in. I was going to gauge how big this was, but I think we have times to kind of answer questions as we go along. So I'll
Yeah,
drop.
so I think what we can do is I can bring the PowerPoint up.
Okay.
That will keep us in a nice little flow.
Okay, cool.
And then we'll kind of talk about it. And this, by all means, raise your hand, or if you want to say something, throw something in the chat. Chad will monitor it, and this will be interactive. Ask me questions. I'll tell you kind of where I was, how I got there as we go through this. So if you want to throw it up, Chad, and then we'll just kind of run.
You want me to run it? Okay, cool.
Or I could run it. It's not a big deal.
I got it right here, buddy.
All right. So the first part of how PowerPoints is why a VIP business. So really that starts at slide number 3. Now, I'll kind of tell you a little bit about it. I'm sure this has probably never happened to you, but I'm sure you've never thought about quitting real estate. For a while there, I thought about quitting real estate just about every other day, right? You have certain clients blow your phone up. You have people blame you. Everything's all their problems are your problems. They're super demanding. Let me just share screen, Chad.
Okay.
So they're super demanding. So the beauty about doing a VIP program is having a VIP program is you get to pick the people you work with. So if you take a look at this slide here, let's see, we go down here. There we go, right here. This is why I started the VIP program, right there. So if you take a look at this, in concept, if you have 50 VIPs and they send you 4 leads per year, that ends up being at a 25% close. That ends up being 50 closed units. I don't know how many units you did last year, but here's what I do know. When I first looked at the VIP program, I was doing about 80 units. And I saw this, and it took me a database of 2,000, 3,000 people to do 80 units. And what I've learned is over the years, the smaller the database you have, the deeper the connection you have with them, what you'll find out, you'll do more units and you'll have a more enjoyable business. So instantly I went from 2,000 to 3,000 people in my database down to 400. And I was first told to get a list of 50 VIPs. Now here's mistake number 1. Mistake number 1 is you go throw 50 names on a list and you call them VIPs, and yet you do not have any relationship with them. So what I would tell you is the first thing you do is you start building this slowly. So the first thing you do is you kind of decide, what is a VIP to me? In the beginning, a VIP to me was anybody that sent me a referral. So if they sent me a referral, they were a VIP. And
so that was your first way you classified a VIP, is like, hey,
yeah,
this kind of must like me. I got a referral from them. Maybe I could get more.
that's really it. The first way I classify a VIP was, man, if they're referring me, they got at least like me somehow. That's really all I cared about. But even then, it's like some of those people I didn't want to work with. So I'll fast forward today. When you fast forward today and you're doing 200 plus units, what are you doing here? Oh, there's a slideshow, Mo.
Where are you on your current slide?
Number 3. Wow. Thanks, Mandy. She's pretty good. This is why you have good people. Looks like Jasa called Mandy. Mandy came in here and fixed it. All right. So, by the way, if you have a team, your team should be on your VIP list. We'll talk about that later. So So yeah, my first criteria was if they sent me a deal. And then as I started to build my VIP list, then it got to be, man, if they sent me 4 referrals, they should be at a higher level than somebody that sent me 1. And then now today, my VIP list is about 35. So it's about 35. And last year, 35 people sent me 141 transactions. So now we did 237. So if you look at it in theory, my database today is 417 people, but I could cut that database down to 50 and still do over 100 transactions because of the relationship we have with them.
So you have 60% of your business from this list.
Yes.
So you're not casting such a wide net like many of us. You are narrow, defined, going deeper with these accounts and these relationships.
So this is kind of how I started. So you start with this. You guys ever remember that movie Weird Science?
I do.
Chad definitely remembers Weird Science. So Weird Science, you got these 2 nerds that decide to create a girlfriend. And so they go through all these magazines, they cut out the best eyes, they cut out the best stomach, and they put all these features together and they create this girlfriend, right? Well, that's what you're doing with the VIP list. You are essentially making criteria of what you want in a VIP. That's what you're doing. So here's some things to think about. A good connector, somebody that's influential, somebody that's a good communicator, somebody that already knows you, likes you, and trusts you, somebody that has a business mind, maybe a referral mindset. You do know that most jobs out there, people don't have to refer or be referral to make money. Like the guy that's working the checkout counter at Walmart, does he care if anybody refers Walmart? Nope. He's getting paid regardless. So sometimes someone that's in a referral type business, they become a better VIP because they already understand. Like I know Chad, I know that Chad knows without referrals, I don't eat because he also lives that way. So now we're connected. I like people that are involved in the community. I've gotten to the point now where it's people I want to do life with. One of our principals and coaches in the core, Ben, I was doing a site visit with Ben. A site visit's where you go and study their business. And this concept of people I want to do life with really hit me hard when I was with Ben. His closest VIPs are people he's in businesses with, their family, they live near him. And he's looking, he's like, I only want to have people in my life that I want to do life with. And so when you look at that, man, it's fun doing business with him because if you're doing business with him, you're doing life with him. This is like doing real estate with people that come over and play poker with you. This is like doing real estate with people that you on the weekend, you're going to call them up and spend time with them and shared interests. So I would start to think about what you want in a VIP. This is a list I kind of put together that I thought about. Now, some of these things mean more to me than others. What's not on here is character. One of the things I love about Chad is he's got one of the best characters of all people I know. He takes a strong line in the sand for doing what's right. That's important to me. I don't want people to take shortcuts in my life. I don't want people to play in the gray area too often in my life. I know where Chad stands. That's why he's a VIP for me. Next one is, again, so who makes some great VIPs? What Chad will do is he'll get a hold of them. He will send you a list of what we call whale memory jogger. He'll send you this list. On this list is probably 100 different types of professions that make for good VIPs. My top VIPs look like this: a restoration company, a builder, a financial planner, a lady that owns a staffing company, assisted living counselor, physician assistant.
That's the first time I've heard that. What's assisted living? Is that because they have a place to sell when they come into that facility?
So one of the hottest trends in real estate for the last 5 years have been these really big multi-unit. Sometimes they're 100, 200, 300 units, and a lot of times they have different levels of care. But you have this aging demographic, the baby boomers that came out of the World War II, right? So these people are getting out of their house and they need to go into an assisted living facility. And some of these assisted living facilities, the top floor is just like living in an apartment. The bottom floor might be full on services, mental health, wipe their butt, all that kind of stuff. So how these things kind of work is you sell your house and you go into one of these. We have 4 of them that all have over 200 units that have built within a mile of my office within the last 5 years. So we're talking like 600 units. Most of these places are ran by an assisted living counselor. So someone they have to come in and talk to about if this is a good right. Most of these places have a waiting list. And when they call, they basically call and say, hey, Chad, we have the corner unit, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. We have it available for your parents. If your parents don't come down here and put their money down, we're going to give it to the next person on the list in a week. So they can refer you people that have to sell their house so they can be in a better position to take the open unit.
I mean, that right there, guys, is worth the time on this call. If you're not doing that to go establish some of those relationships, I've done a lot of these calls. I know a lot of real estate agents. I've worked with a ton. I've coached with a ton. I've never heard that. That is awesome.
And what's the beauty behind it is if you get in with them. Now, here's what I did. First, I created a list of 100 assisted living counselors. Now, I had to go outside my market to get 100. And then what I did is I created an Excel sheet, and Chad can give you the template if he asks me for it. I created an Excel sheet. I put all 100 names on this side, and then I had 52 things on the top. And what I did is I did one touch for 52 weeks. And what I found out is going after 100 of them, guess how many I got them to be a VIP? After 1 year, 3. So about 40 of them didn't make it past the 4th week. So it seems like a lot of work, but you realize when 4 weeks into this, 50% of them are no longer talking to you. It works pretty fast. But that's how I approach anytime I'm looking for a VIP. I pick an industry and I look for 100 names and I plan to go after them for 1 year. And the reason why I like 100, I'm a data guy. What I love about doing 100 is when I'm done, I get really easy percentages. So it tells me 1 year going after assisted living counselors, I have a 3% return if I go after them for 1 year. But
yeah.
So this is one of the things I really enjoy to do, especially when you're creating. Now, what I'm going to tell you, and this came on the Beehive call that we just got off with Holly was talking about. Somebody was like saying, well, what if one of your VIPs, if this happens and they're no longer a referring partner? Awesome. That's why the old saying in network marketing is this: new blood is the lifeblood. You should have, just like you have calling your sellers, just like you have brushing your teeth in the morning, just like you have doing your morning routine or your night routine, anything you have in your calendar, you should also put in your calendar whale hunting. Whale hunting should be an everyday thing. You should have it as part of your marketing plan. I'm going to whale hunt for an hour every week. And the reason being is you always got to start building up a bench. And you'll see that really clear when we get to one of these next slides. I'll talk about this quick and then we'll kind of jump on the next slide. So one question a lot of people ask me is, how do you start with the VIP? Like, how do you get in the door? I think that's a question I get probably a lot. And what I would tell you is first, you have to be a really good stalker. That's the first part of it is. So if I'm looking at, so
I should be great at this according to my wife.
Yes, you should be. So let me give you a couple clear tactics. Tactic number 1, this is gonna sound earth-shaking, right? Buy a notebook. That's tactic number 1. Top of your notebook, you put whale hunting. Tactic number 2, schedule an hour every Friday. Block it off an hour every Friday and call it whale hunting. You see how the two are the same? Okay. Tactic number 3, if you're not calling people on that hour, you should be stalking people on that hour. Stalking looks like this. Stalking will look like this. You jump on LinkedIn and you find the whale. You go back to that notebook you bought and you put at the top of the lake, Chad Lubin. Man, it looks like Chad's out there doing stuff. I see him on social media. It looks like he's buying some units. Looks like he's got BRB. Looks like he's in a coaching company. Looks like he's selling stuff. Looks like he's doing all. The guy looks like a mover or shaker. So I would put down on Chad's page, I'd put down Chad Lubin. So then I would go on LinkedIn and I'd look at Chad Lubin's page on LinkedIn. And on that page where I have Chad's name, I'd write down some of the people he knows. I'd also go on his Facebook and I'd start writing down things I observed on his Facebook. If you go on Chad's Facebook and you spend any amount of time on there, you can write a lot of stuff down under Chad's name. Right, we got somebody making some noise. Chad, you want to seek it out and terminate them? Cool.
I gave host up to you to share the screen, so you got to do it.
Oh, I got to find them.
I think it's Jim or Brian.
All right, we'll take care of Jim and Brian as soon as we find them. So what you do is you start to do some things. Here's another tactic. If you never heard about the All About You form, get a copy from Chad. You're going to see a copy of in a few slides later. You can change the All About You form. What really cracks me up is my All About You form might not be great for you, but you take an All About You form. These are things you're looking for to fill out. Now, what I tell people all the time is tactic number 4 or 5. I don't know which one we're on. You take the All About You form, and if you've been in business for any amount of time, you probably have a copy machine. So you take that All About You form and you take a blank copy of it and you go make 50 copies of it and you go buy a 3-ring binder and you put it in the 3-ring binder. So then now, as you're starting to search this out, you can go on to Chad's All About You form, even without asking him. I can look at his Facebook and go, man, it looks like his favorite football team is the Bears. You'll see that in his Facebook. It's pretty clear. Man, I think his favorite baseball team is the Cubs. You'll see it in his Facebook page. Man, it looks like he loves spending time with his daughters. That looks like a big deal for him.
You don't do like the awkward fill this out for me. You try and
Hell no.
as much as possible from the stalking, and then maybe ask some questions in a conversation and weave it in to fulfill it. I think that's where I see most lenders and agents that I'm connected to, either coaching or doing business with, they force this awkward fill out to somebody instead of looking for the information or assigning that task to their team to go find it and then give it to them. And then next time they're in the meeting with him, just fill in a few of the blanks through conversation.
Yes. What I tell my students all the time is, my students like, Jay, I don't know what to say to him. I don't know how you don't know what to say to him, because you take a little bit of information and you just repeat the question in an answer form. So here's the great thing. If I knew nothing, I mean, I could take anybody on this call, somebody I know nothing about, and in about 5 minutes, I would have a quarter of that form filled out. And here's the technique. The technique is this. It's called weaving. And the other technique is, imagine rungs on a ladder. You want to get the 7 rungs on a ladder through weaving. So if I'm doing with Chad, it would look like this. Now, some of these questions I already know the answer to.
Yeah, let's role play.
So we'll just kind of do it really quick. I would probably go and say, boy, Chad, I noticed it looks like you're a big Bears fan. Where's your stance on Fields? You want to keep them, trade them? Because you guys got the #1 pick.
I think I would like for them to keep him, Jay, but I think they're going to trade him. And man, I love football talk with you. Who's your favorite team?
Well, see, now Chad's a trained professional, so he did exactly what I'm going to do to him. Most people won't fire a question back. Most people will say, man, I like Fields. Here's why I like Fields. So then my next question is, my next question is I'm going to take something in Chad's answer and I'm going to kick back another question. So let's say I want to get to the topic of talking about his mortgage business. I got to go from football to mortgage. So here's what I would do. I go, so you have employees, right, Chad?
I do. Yeah, quite a few of them.
So if you were to relate Fields to your employees, do you think it's better off to develop talent or go up and acquire talent?
Oh, buddy, I think it's better to develop talent. It's a great question.
So then what do you look for in your employees? What's your number one characteristics?
Great attitude.
So do you feel like that's your number one characteristic, or is that just what you look for in employees?
That's what I look for in employees, because if I'm being honest, that's where I can go weakest. And I got to surround myself with people that have great attitudes. Otherwise, mine can suffer easily. That's, I kind of have three qualities I look for: competitive, integrity. You said that earlier, and great attitudes.
So right now, if you take a look, we're not even in 4 questions into this, and I'm already deeply connected with Chad.
Through one great question. Yeah, I think, and that's really important, guys, what he's saying, because I'm guilty of this too. And that's where I started this year. I did a VIP pyramid. I've been doing this 23 years, about 17 of it at a very high level, definitely the last 10 years at a very, very high level. And the truth is I can make people feel like a checkbox because I stay a little too surface level with my questions. So I'm guilty of it as well. And I'm really trying to dial in what Jay's showing you right now. Several people, Jay Brown's on this call, he can attest to this. I just called and said, hey, I'm really sorry. I've cast too wide a net for too long. My goal these next 2 years is to only work with 35 people in my business, and I'm going to be better. We're going to have a better relationship. Here's why I want the relationship, right? Jay Brown fits that mold for me. He's a great husband. He elevates his wife at the highest level. He's a great dad. I learned skills from him as a dad because his kids are just a touch older than mine. And he's super competitive and driven and always wants to get better. So I feel like him and I can grow together. So I honored him with that, sent him a video on it. And the truth is I am going to go really deep with these top 35 people. So that's super important. Now that also comes with responsibility. That comes with great questions like Jay asked, right? So that's knowing his kid Scout and Huck's name. That's knowing his wife Aspen's name. That's knowing that he's a runner. That's knowing that he's a Vikings fan and I'm a Bears fan. So we're going to clash once in a while when it comes to football. But knowing those things, we can weave in good conversation.
Yeah. And one of the problems that especially us real estate agents, we got into the habit of is we were told have a really big database because your network is a reflection of your net worth. Now, here's the thing. There's some truth to that. I would add this way. I would say this. If you're taking a number times another number, yes, that's how you get. So if we got 4,000, but think it this way, if you got 4,000 and your relationship with them is on a scale of 1 to 10 is a 1, your end number is 4,000. But if you have 4,000 people in your database and your relationship is 10, that's 40,000. But you can never get to a 10 with 4,000. So if you think of it this way, you can have 4,000 in your people in your relationship and you can have less than a 1 ability with them. I can have 40 and I can have 100 in relationship. It's the exponent, right? So what I would tell you is going wide is not as profitable, enjoyable as going deep. Going deep is better.
Well, and if you look at it, Jay, like if you look at this, right, how enjoyable would it be to get $2.85 million of business from 35 people that you like, you trust, you want to be around? We both run $100 million businesses. That's all it is, right? 100 million divided by 35 is 2.8 million in volume from each of them. How enjoyable is that? How higher of a conversion are you going to have on your leads when you have those relationships with people? How many less calls are you going to have to make? How much more enjoyable are those clients going to be than working Zillow or working open house leads or working something that wasn't referred to you with any value or relationship?
Yeah. And that's just it. The VIP pyramid gives you a visual way to look at it. What I consider a whale count now today is somebody that's sending me 10 referrals a year. That's kind of what so you can see right on here, my whale count is 10 referrals. So I'd like to see 100 transactions this out of 10 people, another 50 transactions out of my top 25, and another 25 transactions out of my next 25. And then I like to move people up and down. If you're no longer producing at the whale, you're going to slide down to a top 25. It's just kind of how that works. So with that, you want to talk more about the VIP. Here's one thing when you can get to that point where you can get a conversation, and I'm tempted to, thinking about this now, I'm tempted to move this slide further in the presentation, because sometimes there's a lot of legwork that happens before I even get a chance to get a conversation. And I'll tell you some of the things I've done.
Yeah, let's go to that legwork and then what you say to them. I think that your next slide, I know where you were going there. Kind of go through how you develop them, and if you got the next 25, how you move them up.
Yeah. So like we take a look at this slide here, and you talk about those next 25. My number one VIP this year, like I was telling Chad on the call, we have 35.7 million pending with that VIP right now.
Right now?
Right now.
Under contract or
Under
listed?
contract. One client. So let me tell you a little bit about that though. This essentially was a homework assignment from my coach. So my coach gave me a homework assignment. I initially thought it was just busy work. So I just thought it was busy work. And what happened was the homework assignment's very similar to what I'm telling you with the VIP. They said, make a list of criteria of your dream builder. So I thought about it and I'm like, well, the builder's got to be a family business, high integrity, super high quality. I'm not going to get callbacks after we sell the house. They've got to be able to develop land. They've got to be able to put models up. They've got to be able to furnish the models and stage the models. They got to see me as a value. They value my advice. They want me to be a partner. So I went through all of this list on the criteria. At the time, I was working for 11 different builders. And the one builder that was my most desirable, the one builder that had the most criteria. Now, again, I didn't even want to do the homework assignment. I thought it was busy work. But when I got done, I put it all on a spreadsheet. The one builder that was at the top of the list had their own real estate company. So obviously that was not one of my criteria. That's a criteria I did not want to see. And my coach at the time was Dayton Schrader. He's one of the B coaches and principals. Dayton said, go out and make a contact. Go out and talk to them. Go out and have lunch with them. And I'm going, Dayton, I'm not going to get any business from it. And Dayton essentially said, it doesn't matter if you get business from it. And he had me approach it with this approach. Let me show you. He had me approach it with this right here. VIP expectation meeting. So I went into that meeting, and what Dayton essentially told me is, don't worry about yourself. Don't worry about your business. Don't worry about it. He says, talk about leads, team, processes, and profit, about their business. So that's essentially how that meeting went. I said, what do you see? What do you see in leads? How are you acquiring your leads? Where are you struggling? How do you manage your team? How do you make up your team? How do you hire? How do you fire? I talked about the procedures, the systems. I basically just I essentially interviewed them for an hour and a half.
Interested in their business, not trying to be interesting and make a sale.
Yes. One of the things I would write down what Chad just said is, Interested, not interesting. Not interesting. We all want to be interesting. I catch myself doing it quite a bit where I'm like, hey, I don't have to go down that path. The more interested you are in someone's business, their life, their family, the more interested they will be into working with you. So this is essentially how that meeting went. Now, what I did do after that meeting is I put them on a courtship. So if any of you have ever dated, you know what I'm talking about. And so I started courting the builder. You show up at things they're interested in. I showed up at their political party rallies. I showed up at their favorite charity. I showed up at groundbreaking events they did. I showed up at local sports football games that they went to. I even went to their favorite football team and bought a jersey, and it was the complete opposite of my football team. So you do this. I became interested in everything they were interested in.
Dude, that is so true. And I think we all fall into this trap where we have this selfish mindset instead of let's go chase big people that are doing big things that we want to be around and see if we can just add value to anything we do. We diminish our self-worth of things we're really good at. We think they all have it figured out. And you and I both know now running several companies and several businesses that most of our ideas, most of our systems, most of the things that's made us successful all came from other people. It wasn't our own creation.
Yep, it all came from other people. And what I would tell you is, if you get really good at, and I'll tell you another story. I'll tell you a story on my flight down to meet with one of my VIPs. So first, the VIP called me up and said, hey, I'm heading down to Florida to look at floor plans about possibly what we can bring back to do here. Can you come? I'm like, yep, I'll come. Offer to pay my flight. I said, I really appreciate that, but I'll pay for my own flight. He's like, well, at least you can stay with me. So here's a VIP, one of my largest VIPs I do a ton of business with. He offered me to stay with him. Of course, I didn't even second guess, where am I going to sleep? How's that work? So when I got down to the place, I kid you not, it's a very small bedroom, and these are twin beds on both sides of the bedroom, and my briefcase could barely fit between bed to bed. So this is one of my biggest VIPs, somebody I always want to impress, somebody I don't want to look goofy around, and now I'm sharing a room with them with the twin bed. And I'm just like freaking out. But that's the level of the relationship you want it at. So that happens. On the flight down, I told myself, I'm going to engage myself in more relationships. Meaning, when I get into a conversation, I'm not going to try to push the person away. I'm going to try to ask questions and learn stuff. So on the flight down, this guy comes kind of stocky. He's got these little glasses on. There's dirt on his glasses. He sits in the seat next to me, and I'm just hoping he doesn't say anything on the flight down. I put the laptop up. I put the earbuds in. He taps me on my shoulder, and he starts a conversation. And I'm thinking, I'm going to shut this conversation down real fast so I can get back to my work. And then I reminded myself, nope, I want to get better at small talk, asking questions, coming back and forth. So we started a conversation. And I made a point of every time he answered a question, I made a point to take the answer, spit it back out in the form of a question. Well, 3 hours and 40 minutes later, I knew everything about this guy. The guy has probably one of the top 7 pig things in the country. He owns 2 planes. He owns 2 salmon factories. Super guy. If I gave you his name, you could go on Wikipedia and find him. And we just had a great conversation. We leave and he goes, man, I don't know anything about you. Here's my business card. Let's get together. I don't know where it's going to go.
Jay, that's just such a good point. I think all of the business that all of us need is this far in front of our face. But we get on this hamster wheel of making, I don't know, freaking Zillow calls, open house leads, all these ridiculous tasks that don't convert at a high level, that we have to do hundreds of times to get a deal, instead of talking to the people that go right past us every day and finding out more about them, finding how we can add value to their life, their business, and we miss the mark and don't get their business. So I want to catch on something that he said. He talked to this guy, Builder, right? Is who you have the 35 million pending with,
Yep.
right? That was a homework assignment from a coach.
Yes.
And obviously Jay and I own a coaching company together, so we're expected to pay to say this. But that is $1 million in commission, if I calculate your commission correctly, from one homework assignment that has paid for your coaching and events and things for forever. Would you have done that on your own?
No, I wouldn't have done it on my own because, I mean, would I have thought of the ideal on my own? Probably, but I would have never done it on my own because, again, I did it because it was a homework assignment and I did not want to let my coach down. And I did not want to disappoint my coach. And my coach also was the one that kept telling me, look, continue to court the builder. Because keep in mind, I didn't get my first crack at any business 3 years later. 3 years later. And that's just kind of how, I mean, it's kind of how this all works. You know, sometimes you'll meet somebody and you might get business right away. But most times it's going to be time. So one of the reasons why I tell people that whale hunting and VIP hunting, and I use the saying, the new blood is the lifeblood, is because I do know if you're not doing it as part of your marketing plan indefinitely, there will come a point in time where your business will die out. You constantly got to be looking for that bench. You constantly got to be looking for the next VIP because people, metaphorically, people get hit by buses every day. So one of my biggest VIP right now, he's talking about retiring in 5 to 6 years. So if you think about it, I've got 5 to 6 years to develop a relationship with the next person. If I don't, someone else will, and 5 to 6 years from now, that entire channel account, that entire lead source is gone. You constantly got to be watching this.
So what are some things I think you do the best that I want you to touch on is gifting, attention, how you evolve from, because I know how broke you were and all the people you owed money. And I remember you when I first met you from the time you were almost quitting real estate and decided to get into coaching, to the monster multi-million-dollar business you run now. What was the progression like? Like, obviously it looks nice to see all your success, see the money, see the team you've built, but talk about some of your progress of, hey, here's where I started out. Here's the small things that I did when I couldn't afford to, buy Justin Fields jerseys for all my girls, right? Like, what was that progression like? And what were some of the defining moments and how did you replace yourself out of that with staff?
Yeah. So when you're trying to take care of somebody on a budget, a couple key things to keep in mind. Number one is you have to look at what's important to them. So for instance, you can spend $300-400 on something and you can completely miss the mark. Whereas you can spend, $5 on something like I'll give you a great example. I sent Phil Puma a gift that I love sending people. It's called Maine Lobsters. So this company that sends 2 live lobsters.
I love this story.
2 live lobsters, blueberry pie, clam chowder, 2 6-ounce pieces of grass-fed beef, right? And they sends it in overnight, and the lobsters show up on the doorstep, and they're alive. They're doing this, right? So people remember it because how many times do you get a live lobster on your door? Well, I didn't realize Phil's wife is an extreme animal lover. So I sent these lobsters to Phil's house. She starts blowing up Phil's phone. By the way, Phil at the time was sitting in a listing appointment on a property on Lake, does it say Norman? Is that how you say it? And so his phone's getting
Yeah, Lake
blown up.
Norman.
So after about the fourth time his wife calls, he realizes, man, something had to happen to the kids because she wouldn't be doing this on a listing appointment. So she gets her on the phone. He's like, you got to come home quickly. They're going to die. So Phil's racing home, almost gets into an accident himself. And he gets there and Tammy's trying to buy an aquarium to put these lobsters in. And Phil's like, I think you're supposed to eat them. So he just grabs the lobsters, heads to the office, and gives it to somebody on his team. I have sent those lobsters to Phil, and it went the wrong way. I've also sent them to my good friend Jim Young, who has a shellfish allergy that would have killed him. So here's what I'm saying. These lobsters aren't cheap. So my old way of thinking is you have to spend more money to have a big impact.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, and
real thinking is you have to get something that speaks to them. Then the money doesn't matter. You remember that the store Pier 1 Imports?
Yep.
Their logo, their brand, which I really love today, was you find something that speaks to you. Like come in here and find something that speaks to you. That's how you gift. A really good book is called Giftology. It'll talk about that, but it's gift. It would be better for me to send Chad something with the Bears, even if it's $5, $10, $20. I think one of the things I sent Chad, which I believe he still loves, did I send you the flipper, the grill thing with the Bears on it?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. I still
Yeah.
use.
That's not very expensive. I think that was like maybe $8 or $9.
Yep.
It's really cool. You can make burgers with it. That's one of my favorite gifts to send people. Their favorite team with the logo on the spatula or whatever you do flipping. So when you don't have money, you have to gift very specific to what they like. Or here's another thing, gift time. Like I'll talk about Andy and Jasa, a couple of lenders in my marketplace. I don't need them to sponsor my events. I don't need them to pay for my movie event or pay for Zillow leads. But where they come in super, where they give a lot of value to me is showing up early to my event and helping my team set up. It costs them nothing financially, but it costs them a couple hours. But I'll tell you what, that to me is worth, you can't put a price on it because they're helping my team. My team can set up faster. They're taking care of my team. I don't need them to sponsor my events today. So it's things like that. And when you have a VIP relationship, one of the best ways I go into it, always pretend that always do what you think would be in the best interest of the VIP's business, not your own business. So one of the reasons why I have really tight relationships with a lot of my VIPs is I treat their business as a business, as if I'm the owner of the business, even if it conflicts against interests of my own business.
What would be an example of that?
Well, I'll give you an example. It's going to sound silly. My builder VIP that I have is he's been building houses for 57 years. I've only been with them for about 6 years. They have a back warehouse where they store a bunch of stuff. I went in on a weekend and I bought a bunch of garage organizers, like hooks and stuff. And I spent about 6 hours completely cleaning out a section of this back warehouse, installing a bunch of garage organizers, and then organizing all their real estate signs. By the way, not my name is on a single one of the real estate signs. It's all Derek Custom Homes. I organized that complete section. No one's done it in 52 years. And I did it, and I'm not even an employee. Now, when I did that, I didn't take pictures of it and post it all over their office. I just went and cleaned it out. One of the employees saw it, went and told another person. Next thing you know, the buzz in the office is like, wow, Jay came in on a weekend and cleaned out our office, our storage space in the back warehouse and organized all of our signs. So when the builder asked me, he says, why'd you do that? I said, real simple. I said, I was going in there, it was taking me 20 minutes to find an open house sign. I don't got 20 minutes to spend to look for one sign. So I'd rather spend 5 hours, organize it. So now every time I come here and grab a sign, I know right where it is. And then I put up signs up there, keep your hands off my organization. So no one touched it.
So
But there's something where, again, think like the owner.
yeah. What are some, so what I've heard is, like one of the best gifts I ever got was from a team member, and they took every thank you card that anyone's ever written me. I kept them in a box and I thought they threw them away, right? And I love these thank you cards, but they were strategically keeping them. They cut out the best ones and they made 2 huge frames of just people that said I've impacted their lives. And I got to tell you, that gift probably cost maybe $13. And I would rather have my house burned down than that gift go away. I'd rather get rid of my car than have that gift go away. I'd definitely rather get rid of my boat than have that go away. It is one of the most impactful gifts. I'll never forget it. Right. Another one was from one of my partners. They sent a sign, because when I set goals on the team, I call it the Power 5. It's 3 things you have to do for business today to have a great day. It's 2 things in your personal life, 2 goals you're trying to achieve today. So my team does the Power 5 every single day. And when we had our whoopsie surprise baby Parker, it made our family 5. So they put this big sign, made this huge sign that says the power of 5 with all of our names around it. It's the most touching gift I've ever got in my life. And I bet you maybe tops $50. That $50 has probably made them 200,000 to 300,000 easily, right? We don't refer anyone else. Everything goes to them. There's no other insurance agent that gets anything besides this girl, right? And that was the flip for me. I used to refer 3. It wasn't because of the gift. It was because of it sits at my family's foyer. I see it every single day. And I think of it, when I look at it, it makes me think of her, right? So I think we overcomplicate what we have to do. I think we over dramatize how hard this is. It's just being in great relationships. Any final thoughts, Jay, on just how to develop the list, who to put on it, how often you review it, when you're moving people off, events that you do, and anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I would say this is the key part about it is make sure you know your criteria. Always be looking to build a bench. Always be looking to build a bench. Always be developing relationships. You just do not know where that relationship's going to go. And then as far as me, we tend to do what we call a VIP test or a VIP analyst. And Chad can give you what we use for that. So what we're doing is we're monitoring that relationship and we're testing it. Have I been to their house? Have they been to my house? Have we traveled together? Have we been on vacation together? Have they gifted me? Have I gifted them? Have I been to their charity? Have they been to my charity? So we just kind of break that all down. And what we
Great
realize is,
scorecard that we have that I'll share with all of you. Reminder to put
Yeah.
your email in. So you're saying keep score, and how often are you looking at that scorecard?
I'm usually doing mine every 6 months.
Yeah, and what I love about his scorecard, like it kind of sounds selfish, keep score. The score is, am I adding value in their business? I think there's like 13 things about them and 2 about you on it.
And what I tend to do is, here's what I tend to do. And in those of you that know me, I will say this all the time. There's a couple things that I kind of make as my non-negotiable. One of my non-negotiables, do the right thing. Another one of my non-negotiables, the relationship is more important than the transaction. Another one of my non-negotiables is real simple. Be on the right side of the money. So for that, be on the right side of the money, it works like this. I will evaluate the VIP relationship. If I feel like I'm becoming too much of a taker in the relationship, I will find a way to tip the balances, tip the scales the other way.
Ooh,
I always want to be on the right side of the money. So what happens is, if you look at my relationships, and I was talking to Andy about this, if a time period goes by and I start to feel like I'm the taker, I quickly find a way to become a giver in the relationship. So that way, if you were to ask that VIP relationship, you'd ask, if you asked them a week ago, it might be, yeah, Jay's a taker in our relationship. And then you ask them 3 weeks later, man, he's the giver in our relationship. That's just how I like to work. It's just how my mind's wired.
How do you, and so you just keep track of that scoreboard and keep it out in front of you?
I keep it in front of me. I mean, one thing I like to do is I like to have, I like to have the notebooks where I kind of keep track of some things there. I don't write everything down. So some of it is, some of it's just kind of how it feels. I mean, I think it just kind of feels like, am I the taker or am I the giver right now? And that changes. And I think, when you talk about your first VIP relationship is your spouse. Your second VIP relationship is your kids. And I think, with kids and with spouses, every Friday you should be sitting down with your spouse and basically saying, man, how'd this week go? What could I have done better? Where did I fail you? Am I the taker or am I the giver this week? And maybe you don't have to do weekly, maybe it's monthly, but I'll tell you what, I've seen some pretty phenomenal men that I'm like going, man, your wife left you? I have no chance at a relationship if your wife left you. You got like 4% body fat, you're loaded, you look good, you have a great business, and your wife walked out on you? I'm screwed. But the reality of it is the wife walked out on because they became the taker for far too long. And that's what happens with your VIP relationships. If you're not taking care of that relationship, if you're the taker, guess what? It will go away.
That's awesome.
And it sucks, but it is truth.
Quick
Think of it this way. Think of it as deposits and withdrawals in a bank account.
That's right. It's totally that. Quick hits, and I know people got to go because I know we're a little bit over. Jay, I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, buddy.
Quick hits on events, quick hits on what coaching is mean to you, and maybe you can talk about our event coming up.
Yeah, what I would say for me, there's a saying that says this, and I'm gonna do this wrong, I'm sure of it. There's a saying that says this. Let me share screen again. Big decisions, life-changing decisions are always made at big events. And if anybody can speak to that, I can speak to it from my own personal. When I went and saw my first event in VARS coaching, I was $487,000 in IRS debt. And I can't explain to you what that feels like. You literally have to live it to understand what it feels like. I was getting my commission checks cashed. I couldn't get a direct deposit because if I did direct deposit, it got cleared on my bank account the minute it hit. I at one time had bank accounts of $1 in each account at 9 different banks. So I can play the whole possum game. Like, I'm gonna go cash a check at this bank. Then next week I'm gonna go cash a check at that bank. And so there was days I didn't want to get out of bed. There was days where just like, there's no way to do it. My mom was the first person I told about my debt. And my daughter was like 3 or 4 years old at this time. And my mom said, you need to move to Canada. I'm like, well, that ain't possible unless I don't want to have a relationship with my daughter. Now, quite frankly, I will credit my daughter to the fact that I stuck around and found a way to pay it off, because if I had not had a kid, I probably would be in another country right now. So the second person I told about my IRS debt was my coach. And her response was, let's fix it. And for the next 3 years, she taught me how to do a VIP program. She taught me how to go on the offense, how to make more money. But let's keep in mind here, I would have never had that support. I would never had that person to help me get through it had I not gone to a big event. And at the big event, I heard coaching was $5,000 and it was $3,500 a month. And I should have been going, man, there's no way I can pay for that. I better pay off my debt. But instead I said, I've got to get a part of this. So at major coaching, major events, life-changing decisions are made. It might be this one for you. I don't know. For me, it was that one. So Accelerate is a 1 day of instructional event, but it's really kind of a 2.5 day event. If you get in there a day early, leave a day late, you get to spend time with people like myself, with Chad. We're all accessible. We're going to teach you how to generate more leads. We're going to teach you how to convert more leads, and we're going to teach you what to do with that money when you're there. And I'm telling you this, if you go there and you don't find a way to get one extra deal this year, I will personally refund your money for attending, because it's just not possible that you wouldn't go there and get something. But that's what we're doing. We're doing it in Vegas. There's a QR code on there. I do not know if he set up your code. He was supposed to set up your code. It'd be, if you went on there and you typed in VIPs 200, you get a $200 discount because Chad's hosting this. If Eric doesn't have that set up, he can get it set up very quickly. But so the website is Go Be Great. That's GOBEGREAT, gobegreat.com. Click on events and you'll see the Accelerate there. And again, if I can tell you anything, life-changing decisions are always made at big events.
Yeah, and I can just kind of, I wouldn't have my third daughter. I had $330,000 of debt when I first found a coach. I decided not to declare bankruptcy and go after it and pay it off. A mentor and coach helped me with that. I don't know that I'd be married. I made that commitment to myself, and that my wife was the right one when I was away at a mortgage and real estate event. So I paid off all the debt. I definitely wouldn't have the team I have. I wouldn't have the wealth I have. I wouldn't have the life I have. I wouldn't have the business I have without having people that have helped me along the way, helped me through the tough moments, celebrated the great moments with me. And all of those decisions have been made at an event just like this. So
well, that was crazy. I mean, me and you were talking about it. We're like going, think of all the things that would have been different had you not gone to that event, or had I not gone to the event. And by the way, we went to different events.
yeah,
But I'm looking at, like, Chad wouldn't be in my life at this point if it was not, and that's quite okay. But then I wouldn't have the 3 girls, and that would really be heartbreaking. I mean, I love his 3 girls.
yeah.
One I especially like. I like the one that's a little crazy. One that tried to burn down his house. That's my favorite.
Oh God.
But
Well,
there's just so many things I wouldn't have in my life if it wasn't for going to a big event like that.
Jay, you got some time for some questions? I know we're over.
Yeah, of course, buddy.
Cool. So anyone got questions for Jay? You can put them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask.
Yeah. And Chad, I sent you a bunch of VIP stuff. If you want to take those emails in the chats and just forward it to them, you go right ahead.
Yep, I will do that. I got Lauren's now. Thank you, Lauren. Good to see you. What's up, Big Mike?
Hey, Chad, how are you? How are you
Good,
guys?
man.
I have a question, Jay.
Yeah.
How are you, buddy?
Good, buddy. Good to see you.
Same here. At what point when you're making all these deposits, like I can go help people do stuff, you convert it to receiving lead back, or to you convert that relationship to business, give me leads. Could it be the people I'm doing this, they're not in a position to send me leads, or is it just I'm not communicating right?
It really could be both. So the first thing I would say is, when you're setting your criteria of who a good VIP is, or who you're going to court and go after, that's one of the big reasons to set criteria is you have to determine, man, my ideal VIP is in a position to send me referrals. They know how to refer me. So if you never had a conversation with them on how to refer you, so if I'm talking to Chad and I know Chad thinks highly of me, he's probably giving my name out there. So then I run into Chad at the football game. He goes, yeah, Jay, I gave your name out 3 times last week. Okay, that does me no good. So I have to sit down with Chad and go, Chad, man, my apologies. I never taught you how to refer me. Here's what I want you to say about me, Chad. I want you to say these three things. I want you to say I'm the top negotiator. I want you to say I take a team approach to real estate, that my team is just as good, if not better than me. And I also want you to say that we do aggressive marketing. And then when you have somebody that's thinking about selling or buying, I need you to either do a text with me and the person and introduce me and how you know me, introduce the person and how you know the person on that text, and then let me take it from there. And if you can't do it by text, do it by email. So now that I've taught him how to refer me, now that I've taught him what to say about me, now if he still doesn't do it, now I got to reevaluate, is he the right person? But you can't reevaluate if he's the right person or not if you never taught him how to refer you.
Yeah.
And if you taught him how to refer you, you might just have somebody that does not understand the referral business. Like we talked about earlier on the call, the guy working the checkout counter, or girl, I don't want to be sexist, that work in the checkout counter at Walmart, they never had to refer anybody to get paid. They actually would prefer if nobody comes through the checkout, because then they don't have to do anything. But you and me, we're in a business that if we don't get referrals, we don't feed our family. So we understand that referring business out feeds your family. So it might be both. It might be you're going after the wrong person. Now, here's what I would tell you. I would tell you this. You see my deck of cards? You're out of Vegas, right? So you see a lot of cards in Vegas. So you probably know how many cards are in my deck.
52.
How many aces are in here?
4.
Okay, so if there's 52 cards and there's 4 aces, how many cards do I have to flip before I get an ace?
1 out of 13. 1 out of
13? We'll take that. So out of 13 cards, I realistically should get an ace. What if I told you when I flip an ace, that's a VIP that can refer me 100,000 GCI? Okay, so then I would tell you this. How many cards should you flip?
keep flipping. No.
Yeah, that's
All
the
of
thing.
them.
That's it. You continue to flip them. What if I did something really sneaky and I pulled the 4 aces out? Then what are you going to do?
Stop.
No, you're going to go get another damn deck of cards.
I was just gonna say, go get a new deck.
And you're going to keep getting a deck of cards till you get it. Now, here, let me put another spin on it. What if you got an ace? You found an ace. You flipped an ace. Okay, but they're not sending you any business, or they have the wrong, like, they have the wrong character, the wrong integrity. They shortcut stuff. They screw people. There's some people out there that are amazing referrals, but I don't want to do business with them. So I would rather, instead of having a really high ace that has poor character, somebody I do not want to do life with, I would rather find myself a 4 and work with the 4 until I can get them up to maybe a 10. And then maybe someday they'll be an ace. Or maybe I'll be happy with them just being a 10.
Yeah.
But that's the way I look at it. I look at it this way. My job is not to play God. My job is just to flip cards. Give you another analogy that might stick with you. Have you ever been to a restaurant?
Yes.
Okay. So after you get done eating your meal, the waitress or waiter comes up to you and what do they ask you?
Dessert.
Yeah, do you want dessert? And what do you say?
Always.
Yeah, I pretty much do too. That's why I'm in the shape I am. But let's say for a second you go, no, man, I'm stuffed. I don't want dessert. Does that waitress pull up a chair right next to you and go like this?
No.
Mike doesn't want dessert. Dessert doesn't work. No. The waitress just goes to the next table, and guess what the waitress does at the next table? You want dessert? No, cool. Next table. The waitress isn't paid if you get dessert. The waitress is only supposed to ask. Same thing with flipping cards. We don't have to worry about our job is to only open relationships and ask. Flip cards.
How long would you pour into that ace? Like you meet a good ace, you meet them, you connect, you like them.
Man,
until
if that
you
person fits all my criteria, I might continue to pour in them forever, even if I don't get a deal, if they
Okay.
fit my criteria. Because here's another thing. My criteria isn't, in the beginning, you had to give me a referral to be on my list. Today, I don't even need a referral from you to be on one of my VIPs. Because some of my VIPs give me something better than referrals. They give me life.
Yeah.
They give me wisdom. They
Should I
give me
follow that?
context. They help me
I-
become a better father.
I think people overcomplicate it too. Jay and I were talking about this, and Ben Wilson, who's one of our partners, I watched him do a presentation in Chicago for me, and he was going through this VIP pyramid evolution, right? And who he was going to work with and what the next 20 years of his business looked like, right? And he said something that struck a nerve with me. He said, if your family and your friends don't use you for your services, that's your fault, not theirs, right? So then I set a goal of putting my friends on my VIP list, my high school buddies, right? Because I had lost touch with all of them. And they're super important to me. Like 3 of them saved my life in high school. I wasn't even talking to them anymore. It was ridiculous. So I didn't do it for business purposes, right? But I put them on my VIP list, started to engage them. The next year I did a guys trip for all of us to go. About half of them couldn't afford to go. I paid the way so everybody could be there, right? And now this is the 5th year doing our guys trip. This past November, I looked down, there's 13 of them there. 2 of them work for me, and the other 11 had referred me that year, and they had all done their mortgage with me since I had put them on that VIP pyramid. Now, I didn't put them on there for any selfish reasons besides to remind myself to have a system to follow up with my buddies from high school. But what did it turn into? It turned into massive business from one of them, massive, right? And great relationships with all of them.
Nice. Thank you, guys.
One of my best VIPs has never referred me, but I'm not taking her off the list because if she could refer me, she would. But she is one of my sounding boards. She's who I go to for advice. When I'm working on a class, she's who I go to. I run my PowerPoints by her, all of that stuff. And she's just like, when I'm thinking about buying my daughter a vehicle, she's one of the people I called and I said, hey, here's what I'm struggling with. Should I buy my daughter a vehicle? Is that going to spoil her? Is it going to make her weak? And, so we have these conversations. Now, yeah, she's never referred me, but man, I for a month, I think I called 5 VIPs for a month and I struggled with, do I buy my daughter a brand new vehicle or not? My daughter's got a vehicle more expensive than mine. And I mean, I remember my first car, Flintstone, Fred had it before me because I could feel the ground when I put my feet on the floor. I mean, that's how we got it started down a hill. So that's the thing with the VIP. It can be more than just referrals.
Awesome, guys. One more question. Now I got to cut off and go.
I'll take my question one.
Well, Jay, I really appreciate you, man. I've
buddy.
just seen you evolve. I've seen you be so intentional. I think the best thing about it, and I've noticed this with several people, is they made this shift when they started doing their VIPs. And I'm on this journey right now of having none of it be about them and not looking for the business, right?
Right.
I kind of think back of when I was in my single days, right? My early 30s. Right. I just, gosh, I wasn't in a place where I wanted to get married, didn't want to get married. It was like, but it was all selfish, right? The second I let go of that, my wife popped up right away. The second I became the man that she would be attracted to and have the character and the integrity and someone she was looking for, God put her in my life right away. And I think that's the same with these relationships. When you stop making it about you and make it about them, the business always comes, or something of value always comes.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, guys,
buddy.
I really appreciate you being on. We would love to see you in Vegas. Big Mike's going to be our host. Accelerate 2024. It's April 20th. We will have that $200 discount code that will go through Friday. So sign up by Friday. And then just know we're speaking about wealth building. We're speaking about lead generation. We're speaking about better relationships, processes. We will rebuild your business within one day. And the best part is not the presenters and the speakers. It's the hanging out with people like Jay to pick their brain, to have a drink, to have a coffee, to have lunch, and to really the side conversations is where I get a lot of my tactics that have changed my life.
Yep.
Any final thoughts, Jay?
No, man, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, buddy. Well, I really appreciate you. Thank you for being a VIP in my life, and thank you for pouring into all these people today.
Likewise,
right, buddy.
buddy.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you both.
Thank you, guys.